everyone, and welcome to Thursday Live Lesson Home Edition once again. My name is Aldrine Guerrero, joined by Mr. Aaron, the voice Nakamura. Say what's up, Aaron.
What's up?
Mr. Kahai, the legend Furrigan. Say what's up, Kahai.
What's up?
And special guest for our very special 100th episode, 100th episode of Thursday Live Lesson, Mr. Magic Mike Odo. Say what's up, Mike.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Mike is here. Yeah. Right on. So 100 episodes, guys. Mike, you were there in the very first episode, I believe.
I was.
Yeah, and I guess 2.5 years later or something, or some change. 2 years later, we're still doing it, bud, and you're still here. Right on. So how this works is you guys can send us your questions. We already have some questions kind of sent in to us. We'll answer those. I'll answer them, and these three guys will come in with their 2 cents. We'll come up with a super answer just for you. And we are live, so make sure to utilize the live chat. And ask us whatever questions that you want. It can be ukulele related. It doesn't have to be ukulele related. Let's just have some fun. This is like kind of a podcast style. So if you guys want, you can download this as an audio. But thank you so much for all of you people who are watching this. We are doing a home edition, so the 4 of us are in our own homes, safe and sound. Right, Mike? Are you safe right now?
I am very safe.
Blink 3 times if you're serious. Okay, I don't know if you're being held captive. I see the brown, curtain in the background. I'm like, are you in some kind of facility?
No, these are just my trying to be blackout curtains. I like big thick curtains because I sleep a lot.
Yeah. Well, we see the Collar Brad in the back, and we're like, is he in the store? Or is he like locked in the store? Is he, is he in isolation at Scotty's Music?
Nope, that's actually one of my mementos from Kwai Music and Sound.
Oh, right on.
That actually, what I was actually gonna do with that a while back was when I was still playing a little more. I was actually gonna sand all that off though, and turn it into the thank you for your tips, and then I was gonna hang that
cool. That's
on
cool.
the tip jar. But I don't know. I kind of like it like that. It's a pretty cool little deal.
You could put wheels on it and just it's like a skateboard,
That's very small and thin, and I'm very much not small or thin.
Or you can make 2 of them and just
roller skates.
Yeah, roller skates.
Roller skis.
Yeah.
Right on. Magic Mike is here. It is episode 100, guys. Before we get to the questions, what has been your favorite memory so far in the past 100 episodes? Mike, go ahead since you're a special guest. Give us your favorite Thursday Live Lesson memory. And what's your favorite question that you've answered?
Was it the lechon koale, or was it the
roast pork?
I'm thinking of food right now.
We only gauge episodes based off of what you guys ate for lunch beforehand.
Was it the subs? The subs that
the meatball subs. That's OG. That's the first one, right?
One of the first ones.
The funny thing about that is, if you think about it, the better the food was, sometimes that meant the quality of our answers.
There's like a negative correlation.
Favorite memory?
Gosh, I don't know. It's just been. I don't think I have one favorite one. I think it's just been super fun doing them, hearing the questions that people will come up with.
What a politician you are, Mike. Everyone matters.
Look, I'm old and I don't remember things, all right?
I love all the babies that I had to kiss. Even the ugly ones.
Right on.
I think the only question that's ever sticks out as memorable in my head was the first time you thought you were gonna try and do like the connection challenge to me.
The connection challenge.
We had an Ipu.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you challenged me to connect it to jazz.
Yeah, musically.
That was really good. Yeah, that's a good one. Aaron, what's your favorite memory?
Probably the hot sauce.
Oh yeah, that was a good one
Yeah.
too.
We
Yeah,
tried
awesome.
we tried
That
3
is true.
hot
I forgot about that
sauces
one.
on air. So,
that was
so that
tasty.
was yeah, that was
Yeah.
fun.
Kahai?
I don't know. Those are pretty. Those are pretty
Good ones.
standout moments. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
it's probably. I don't know. Probably one of the songwriting challenges. I've been just liking the songwriting challenges in general. So, and seeing what other people come up that's not us on the podcast too. So, yeah, I like talking to people about that. So.
I was gonna say like the meatball sub episode, but whatever episode it was that we got, I don't know if it was even on a Thursday live, or I might be confusing it with a Friday jam and stuff. But the episode where we got Jake, the stand-up Jake, that's one of my favorite moments because I was like,
Yeah.
what is in this? It's back there, behind
it is
Aaron. Like I was like, what is this? What is this thing that we got? And so I guess one of the unboxing moments that we had here on Thursday, and it was Jake back there. I think that's one of my favorite moments. So right on, guys. Cool. So let's get started with this. Let's answer the first question. So hit me, Kahai.
Will earlier in the week he sent me a question, and he asked what's the best option if you absolutely cannot grow nails. Like I guess he's tried and it just hasn't worked, so he's using finger picks right now, but he's wondering, is that the best option or is there something better?
I think the best option is to use a thumb pick would be. I mean, if you desperately need it, and so you don't need it. So let's just go ahead and say this: you don't need picks, you don't need nails and stuff. But if you're looking to play a certain technique that requires nail, that's when you use a nail. But in order to just play your ukulele, just to make noise with it, just to kind of jam and sing it and whatnot, you do not need nails at all. And there are also other ways that you can get around techniques that use the nail. So for example, if you want to do like tremolos and stuff, you can do that without using a nail. You can kind of use this and do the running man technique that Imo Garza does on one of our lessons here in UE Plus. So there's you do not have to use a nail. You don't have to grow a nail. And on top of that, if you do grow a nail, you don't have to grow it to the length that I do or a bunch of other musicians do and stuff. You can keep it as short as needed. Like you can keep it short and it will still kind of, as long as it does its thing, it's good. So with that said, if you absolutely need to use a nail and you want to use those techniques that involve the nail, the thumb pick would be the best choice, I believe. I mean, you can kind of use some of those some of those finger picks for the pointer finger and whatnot, but if you're using that for tremolo, the tremolo might be a little too intense and it's gonna it's not gonna be as stable. Whereas the thumb pick is going to be relatively the most stable pick that you can just keep on your hands. I wouldn't use the thumb pick for like strumming or any pick for strumming really. I would use it mainly just for those techniques that would require me to have a nail. Okay, so what do you guys think?
Yeah, and then I told him that, and then I also told him that Clay and Brian are like famous for using fake nails.
Yeah. There's also other ways that you can do that.
Yeah, and then Patrick on the chat, he asked what about fake nails? So
yeah, fake nails are good. I mean, like if you get the correct kind, like the acrylic nail that goes on top, can last for like maybe a couple gigs if you're playing hardcore. If you want something that lasts a little bit longer, definitely get those the gel nails and stuff. That's what Calais uses. That's what Brian Tolentino uses, and that's what a bunch of other professionals.
It's just a gel coating over your natural nail, though, right?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes they put the acrylic and then put the the gel
so like
on top of it. Yeah. So you can do that, but that still runs the risk of like the whole acrylic like kind of coming off because it's just like glued on top of your nail, and if it comes off, that top of the nail is going to be a lot a lot weaker. Whereas if you use the gel, just the gel alone, so if you grow the nail and put the gel on top, the gel just like kind of sticks to to the nail. You can like pick it off, but you would have to like really try super hard to pick it off. And it'll just kind of like your nail will just grow out, and where the nail or where the gel is going to be, it's just going to naturally grow out as well. Like as the nail kind of grows from underneath like this out. But so that gel nail will be the best approach as opposed to just acrylic, because acrylic is just acrylic on top of it with a glue. At least the gel kind of seals it to your nail. So I get those if you're going to go down that route. I'm not too fond of the clackety clack noises that it that makes on the ukulele, but if beggars can't be choosers,
you don't ever use fake nails or acrylic.
I don't.
Or gel.
I have. I don't want to be called out. They're like, yeah, but what about this time? Like, yeah, I did. But desperate times. And I just wanted to try it out. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to see what it was about, because I can't be like giving advice like this if I've never tried it myself. So I have. So that now I can kind of relay my experience to you guys. That like, if you don't have to, don't. But. If you really want to get those techniques, if you really want to, like thicken that nail or whatever, if you really want or need that nail, gel would be the way to go. But for first, thumb pick, and then I'll go gel. Yeah, in really desperate times.
Yeah. Also, I mean, Jake doesn't have very long nails on his strumming hand, either his thumb or his other fingers. And then like Imua Garza doesn't really have nails at all.
No, at all.
Yeah, and he does fantastic work on the ukulele. So it's you can do whatever.
Yeah, Abe doesn't either. Like if you look at Abe's nails,
that's true.
Abe does not.
Abe Lagrimas doesn't have nails.
You do not have to. Yeah, if it's just in very specific techniques like that you would use a nail. And I mean, it makes your tone a little bit better as well. But I mean, guys like Abe has proven that, like, well, if you can make up that whatever lack of tone with good notes or good melody, like, and you still sound amazing. So it's all good.
Doesn't
I can't play the kind of notes that that Abe does. There's like. So, you know what I mean? I have to rely on like making the few notes that I can play sound as good as possible.
Yeah. Or do them fast with your thumbnail.
Yeah, with my thumbnail, exactly. You know what I mean? Like, and we were doing breezing at the retreat, and then all of a sudden he just busts out like an Arabian scale. I'm like, yeah, me and Khalil were like, we're done. What even is that's not fair.
Yeah.
The first thing I said, I'm like, that's where we're going. Okay. I'm not gonna catch this bus.
Yeah.
Stay here. You guys go.
I like afterwards too when you guys were talking about it, and Abe was just like, yeah, if you go for that, you just gotta go. Like, you can't stop. you can't second guess yourself, like, because it kind of works, but you just gotta believe that it's gonna work. So it's like, oh,
and
my gosh.
much like any good martial artist, or I'm just talking about Goku, like, if you go into a battle and you lose, right, you rewind back to the tapes on how and why you lost. So now I'm experimenting with. So next time that I go against Abe and he's like busting out these scales, I'm like, oh, guess who learned some, Abe? Yes, So like any good true Super Saiyan, right? Like once you get beaten to the brink of death, well, you come back even better. So that's what it is.
Guess who learned how to go Super Saiyan number 2?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? I haven't been beaten to the brink of death in a long time, and I needed a good beating, is what I said.
Yeah.
And then Abe is gonna be like, "Oh, have you tried using microtonal scales?" Or have you tried using...
Yeah, I know.
Never
So
mind.
I'm gonna get beaten again and then come back even better. So every time I get beat, that's how you learn. That's how you learn, kids. You gotta take those L's,
Kevin asks, where's the best position for a thumb pick on the thumb? So I guess where's the best place to put it?
I believe that the best place to put it is where you would put a regular pick. Okay, so put it on your thumb where you feel comfortable. I mean, it might be at the top, it might be here. That's totally up to you. But the position of where it's angled, it's based on how you're holding a regular pick. So when you're holding a regular pick, it should be at an angle that you're, that you would be picking on your strings this way, right? So pretend like when you put it on, that angle that is sticking out here is like you're holding a pick with these two fingers, so your thumb and your pointer. That's the angle, and that's where you should hold it. So if it's more comfortable for you to hold it down here, all good. By all means, put it down here. If it's more comfortable for you over here, like up here where mine is, or more of the pad, all good. So or maybe right where the knuckle is. It just depends where you would normally hold a regular flat pick. So just treat it like a flat pick. That's where you would put it on the thumb. Right, Mike? You use picks all the time, right, for your bass?
Oh, let me think. No.
Never.
Why? Why don't
no,
you
it's
use
not
a pick,
that.
Mike?
Honestly, it's not that I never use a pick. I do use one, and actually, funny enough, the very few times I ever do use a pick, it is a thumb pick.
Really?
Oh.
Because part of the reason that's true is whenever I do use a, standard bass technique is the 2-finger running man thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I would use about 99% of the time. Yeah. I just happen to have one right here.
Nice.
So if I'm holding onto a pick, that means I'm actually taking my first finger, which is the main, basically this is the main finger right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There are bass players who pretty much only play with one finger. If you ever watch videos of James Jamerson, who was the bass player at Motown, he actually did everything you've ever heard, all the really crazy Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder stuff with one finger, which is relatively impossible for the rest of us. So for me to lock down this finger by having to hold on to a pick would be really difficult. So the reason I like a thumb pick is because I can get that, but then I can just turn around and do that.
The running man. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I can go from that and then play that and then go back to that if that's what I need to do.
That's a nice pick. It's got a lot of surface area in the bottom.
Yeah, I do like this one. It's actually by Herco, and I've never actually found any others. So
it's because it's kind of like a flat pick, like that shape of the flat pick.
It's basically
that's cool.
It's basically just a regular pick with a curve for your thumb.
I gotta get one of those. That looks great.
Yeah. And that would be the same reason that you would use it for ukulele too, right? So it doesn't take out your other fingers. Because most of the time people strum with their pointer finger for ukulele.
Yeah.
So
if you're using a flat pick, you can't really do that strum. Right?
The regular strum.
It out.
Yeah.
Also, if you're trying to do like a picking thing where you're doing like thumb and fingers together, if you're using like a regular pick, you're locking down that first finger. So rhythmically, that might be very challenging because, obviously our pointer finger is like the dominant finger on our hand. So if you're taking that out of the equation and tying it down to your thumb, forcing the other two or three fingers, which however many you use for your technique, locking, you're basically forcing the dominant finger to go from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be very rhythmically difficult for a lot of people.
Yeah.
There was a video I sent to Aldrine of it's a metal band called Polyphia, and the guy from it, he plays holding a pick between his thumb and pointer, but then he does slap bass stuff with the rest of his fingers too.
Oh yeah.
So he's like a crazy bass player. Yeah, that was like, that blew my mind. But there is actually a question that we got that it was kind of interesting because the person said that they tried bass for a little bit and they learned how, learned the the running man, the 2-finger running man to pick. But he was saying like, why is that something that's like feasible on ukulele, or like why don't we use that for ukulele instead of like we using the thumb, pointer, and middle? So
it is feasible for ukulele. I mean, we mentioned Emil Garza using that technique. I believe Abe kind of uses it too if he's kind of playing those those notes, but he uses like the three finger running man with a thumb. For me, because I'm all about I'm all about form. In order to get to that, I have to kind of go from this and then go to like a rest stroke technique in order to get to the to that running man. So it's a little bit easier for me to kind of keep the form and just kind of do the pick from here, because I can go from strumming my ukulele to kind of picking. I'll lower the camera here so you can see it. So I'm kind of doing the strumming and then straight to the picking and then back to strumming. Even if I have to do the tremolo, I can go straight back here. The running man, in order for it to be effective, for me, I feel like I have to kind of do it back here, and I have to rest one of my fingers, my thumb, on the string above. So if I'm gonna do the running man on the A string, I kind of have to use my thumb, rest it on the E string. The reason being is I don't want it to go messy. If I rested it on the G, so I'll kind of get the E. So if I mute the E with my thumb, I can just kind of go as crazy as I want to. And it doesn't give me any unwanted notes on the E. But in order for me to do that, it locks up my entire hand. So going back into picking, it proves a little bit difficult because I do a lot of complicated strums, and in order for me to get to that, it's gonna take like a couple seconds. It's too fast of changes that I need. So this is not efficient for me. But I have seen guys, like I said, like Imua and Abe, not terrible players. Yeah. Those guys are beasts. So so there is ways to kind of to do that technique and get around with it. But just for my style, it doesn't quite work. But it is okay for the ukulele, and I've seen great professionals use them correctly. Efficiently.
How did that become the standard for bass mic, like using the running man? Because like when you learn bass, that's pretty much how you're taught, right? Like it's kind of unusual to use a pick instead.
Well, okay, so the reason that would be the thing is, if you go back to the origins of the electric bass, it's the origins are basically the upright bass.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're playing upright bass, you're using two basic techniques. Number one is the arco technique, that's when you have the bow and you go across like this.
Mm-hmm.
And pizzicato, which is when you pluck. So obviously on an upright bass, there was no such thing as a pick or anything of that nature. So I mean, it would look really weird if you had. So the two finger running man technique came from that.
Mm.
So when the original electric bass, I mean, there were a couple guys pre-1951 who were making electric basses. Rickenbacker, Regal were all trying to do stuff, but what most people consider to be the first successful electric bass was Leo Fender. And his whole reason for doing it was he was actually not looking for an instrument that upright bass players could play. He was actually looking for an instrument that guitar players could play.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because what was happening was a lot of his guitar player friends, they were scaling down bands coming from the 40s, where it was like the big band era, into the 50s, where it was a little bit smaller. So he started to make he was looking to make a smaller fretted instrument that a guitar player could pick up and think about picking like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, a lot of them were pick players, obviously, but then his idea was you would go over to that and then you would use upright bass technique. Again, the pizzicato technique. So you could use your left hand skills from your guitar and learn the right hand plucking from the upright bass, so any guitar player could get in, could double basically. So if they went to a gig or tried to audition for a band and the guy said, well, I don't need a guitar player, I need a bass player, the guy could break out his Fender bass and say, well, I can do that too.
I too am a bass player.
I too can make the low sounds.
Yeah.
You know, and and originally that's why so many of if you look at the 1951-52 precision basses, actually for quite a while they were more geared to making it sound like an upright and not like kind of the twangier electric that we think of now.
Yeah.
If you find an old Fender, those metal covers that go over the pickups, at the bridge there's actually a big chunk of foam underneath it that would lay across the strings at the bridge and really mute the strings. And if you know the difference, the original strings that he had made were flat wounds. Because flat wounds are very much the same as upright bass strings.
Yeah.
So the idea of a round wound string, like Leo came up with his first precision in 1951. I think Roto Sound didn't. I don't think the round wound string didn't exist until maybe the like early mid 60s. I think.
And that's crazy because like so many people use round wound strings now.
Oh yeah, well I mean,
standard.
They're considered the standard now.
Yeah.
Where if you bought a bass anytime pre say about 1975-ish, you were going to have flat wounds were what came on the bass.
Okay, now we're going to go from P basses.
Okay.
And then connect them to an EPU. Go.
We gotta tie it back to the first episode somehow.
Because it has to be ukulele, right? So
so we're tying that to an EPU, and that makes it ukulele.
Well, it's Hawaiian, or at least it's closer.
Yeah. Well, actually, after this, can you talk about U basses, because we get so many questions about U bass. Like people say, like, oh, it's a ukulele, but it's like no, like we teach how to play ukulele here, but that's more of a bass than an ukulele. It's just
go from P bass to EPU to U bass. There you go. Let's see it. 100 episodes, Mike. We had 100 episodes to practice.
Oh, okay. So the way you connect a bass player to the EPU, in a modern musical ensemble, the bass player is, a lot of people think of the rhythmic foundation as being the drummer, and a lot of times it's not. The drummer is more of a rhythmic accenter. So if you listen to a good drummer, they're the ones who are like, when something dramatic happens, that's when the cymbal crashes come. They're the ones who use their fills to kind of push into the next section. The bass player is the one who's actually laying down one constant rhythm, either the walking bass line of jazz or just a straight 8 notes of rock and roll. They more tend to play one consistent rhythm that everything else lies on top. The drummer is the one who, like when the big dramatic part comes up, he's the one who's going to crack the cymbals on one to kind of say that's what happened. In Hawaiian music, an ipu is that same thing, where it's that one constant rhythm that everybody else chants up on top of. So they're connected because they are the one consistent rhythm rather than an accented rhythm, which basically most of the other hula instruments, if you're thinking about hula kahiko, which is the pre-Western influence one, that one rhythm that the ipu would put out, or even sometimes the pahu drum would also have something similar to that. But the ipu would be one consistent rhythm, and the bass player also plays generally one consistent rhythm that has not that many variations on it. There you go.
And then the second connection.
Let's
go from there to the U bass. Yes.
Okay, well,
you're only half done.
A P bass is a bass and a U bass is a bass. There you go.
No, we're going from ipu to the U bass, because we're going P bass to the ipu to the U bass.
Okay. So then put it in reverse. The general purpose of a U bass in any musical ensemble is to provide a consistent rhythm, as well as the harmonic foundation for the band. But I think a lot of people would tell you they would rather have a bass player who plays, and if you're a bass player out there, don't do this, but one of my bass teachers actually told me a long time ago, it would actually be better for you to play a few wrong notes, but be able to stay very consistent on the rhythm than to play all the right notes, but be out of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
I'd agree.
I honestly, if you are familiar with most forms of music, if the bass player starts playing a few what we call chromatic notes, mean notes that are out of the key, moving from a note to a note, yeah, you can probably do that. And technically that note is not correct for the scale, for the key. But as long as it goes in the right place, nobody will notice. Nobody will think that's wrong.
Yeah.
Now, true, if you're in the key of C and you play C sharp on beat 1, no, that will probably sound really wrong to people.
Yeah.
It's
but if you play a C, then a C sharp, then a D, moving up, it'll just sound like it's a passing through tone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's how you connect that for the EPU to there. The U bass, that's its job. Plus, they're small and hollow and made out of wood. Organic material.
Yeah.
Nice.
You're talking about how like if you're playing bass, it's probably better to be on rhythm, or like, you know, it's more noticeable if you're not on rhythm than if you're playing the wrong note. And Victor Wooten has that exercise, right, where he plays chromatically, but he's playing very rhythmically too. And like he asked people, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer when I played all the supposed wrong notes, or do you prefer when I played all the right notes? And then most people are like, oh, I kind of like, because it grooved better, I preferred when you played the wrong notes. So yeah, there is like, that's like something I was talking to somebody earlier. I was answering a question, and I kind of told them like, so many times people like are afraid of playing the right or wrong notes, but there's so much other parts of music to get right or wrong, you know, supposedly right or wrong, that it's like it's almost minor when you really get into music. Yeah.
You know, for bass lines, a lot of times, you know, especially in jazz, we use chromatic notes all the time to get from one chord to the next. Yeah. I think a good thing to remember is that at one point in history, almost every note was a wrong note.
Yeah.
If you really go back to like the kind of some of the earliest recorded Western, not recorded, but thought of or written down music, and you think of things like Gregorian chant, if you think of music that was created at that time, there wasn't what we consider to be harmony. Mm-hmm. It was the idea of Gregorian chant was everyone was singing the same thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The closest thing you would get to there being some kind of harmony would be someone singing, you're singing down, and someone singing the octaves.
Yeah.
For many years, and then it took like 100 years for them to decide like, oh, a fifth was acceptable, then a third, and then so a lot of those other notes were not thoughts of all. A way to think about it is, for those of you who listen to any of Beethoven's string quartets. To us, to our Western ears and modern Western ears, it sounds beautiful and very consonant, and it doesn't sound like the harmonies that out there. But what you need to realize, in Beethoven's era, the fact that he was using like sixes and sevens and things like that was actually considered very like jarring to some people's ears.
Would you say that Beethoven was rock and roll?
Beethoven, I would probably say most of the great composers were very rock and roll in one way or another.
Or would you say that he was like the punk movement, where like, oh, I'm gonna do things my way?
there, between the three big period was in the early 16 to 1700, which would be like Baroque into classical period into Romantic period. I think the guy you would associate with all three of those was a rebel in some way. Even Bach, who's kind of like the boy. Well, he wasn't not so much nearly as someone like Vivaldi.
Yeah.
But one of the things that marks some of those great composers is that they all harmonically tried to advance the music. If you listen to Mozart versus Bach does sound now very kind of more controlled than Mozart's music, which was a lot wilder. But then you can compare even Mozart's music to that of Beethoven's music. And Beethoven's music was like way out there compared to that. A lot of people in the early 1800s, when Beethoven was writing a lot of his stuff, was like, he was the example of like versus like dubstep, where there was a lot of music critics at the time saying like, is this really music?
Well, so
we don't think this is.
Hello.
Oh
yeah.
Oh, sorry, you're just cutting off. So back to Aaron's question and stuff, like with uke players going like, oh, okay, it's basically the same thing. It's it's a ukulele bass. So why can't you guys teach ukulele bass? So tell us more about U basses and why ukulele.
Yeah, kind of just like if anybody out there just bought a U bass and they don't know where to start, like how to approach the instrument, like what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, if they're coming from ukulele and they go, I want to learn U bass because it's similar, right? What would you respond with?
Okay, so the first thing I'd respond with is it's not.
It's a bass. Oh,
yeah, 4 strings.
Sorry. If you bought a U bass because you thought you were going to play it like your ukulele and it'd be great, you're wrong.
You can't tell people that, Mike.
Just being honest here.
People have feelings, man.
So I think the thing to remember with the U bass is that it is the way. Don't think of it as an ukulele bass. Think of it as an ukulele size bass. Okay. The U and U bass does stand for ukulele, but it's only basically for the size of the instrument. All the notes, all the fingerings, everything like that is actually taken from electric bass. Specifically electric bass because it is generally a fretted instrument. If you're going to buy a U bass because you want to play U bass in your band, realize that you are moving from one job to another job. You do something similar. If you're playing the ukulele, if you're Aldrine in a band, your job, aside from his crazy ass solos, is to basically play a solid rhythm and to change the chords when they need to be changed.
He doesn't do that job well, by the way. Keep going.
Don't get me started. If you're the bass player, if you are going to play U bass, your job is the same thing. The biggest difference is that you are now going to go from playing chordally to single notes. Yes, there are guys who can play the U bass, also all crazy and stuff, just like Victor Wooten on his regular electric bass or somebody like that. And as much as I love Victor Wooten or Marcus Miller or any of those guys, the one thing I would tell anybody who's buying U bass, your job first and foremost is to hit the right note at the right time. And the right note at the right time is not the note that you necessarily want to hit. The right note is the one that supports everything else in the band. Okay?
Tell him, Mike.
That's right.
Tell him.
Your job is to hit basically on one. You should be hitting the root of that chord. And you should be doing it right on beat one. Because the bass player is what's going to allow everybody else to stack on top of it. You know, if you're thinking, if the four of us were playing in a group, my job is to hit, and we're playing key C, my job is on beat 1, hit that C. The next two guys up is going to be Aaron and Kahai, because they're playing guitar, because they're the next higher, lower pitched instrument. And they're got to be, and basically me being right on 1 means that they're going to be able to hit right on 1. And if the three of us are doing that, that means Aldrine's going to be able to hit right on 1. And that's what's going to hold all this music together. So if you have a really erratic bass player, if you're not doing that, if you're an ukulele player, you can play around with that a little bit, because you're higher up in the rhythmic scale. Meaning that if we're playing, and if I hit C and then Aldrine hits like an accent on the and of 1, or on 2, if I go boom bum like that,
and I think
it's gonna sound cool. But if we did it the other way around, and he hit on 1 and I hit on 2,
that would sound terrible.
It would sound terrible. So if you're gonna play U-bass, realize that your job is kind of changing, and a lot of the rhythmic things you might do as a lead rhythm instrument are no longer going to be appropriate for you to do.
Well, what if I'm used to being a star, Mike? I need to be, you gotta let me shine, man.
Well, I saw Victor Wooten, and he's just up there, and he's going crazy.
He's doing things. He's playing notes.
Do that. I want to do
that.
that.
Why can't I Wooten it up?
I don't.
So here's my answer. Here's my answer to anybody who says that. Listen to Victor Wooten play, and you will notice that no matter how crazy he gets, no matter how nuts his technique does, and his technique actually does get pretty nuts, he's real famous for his version of Amazing Grace. I've watched him do that live. From like 20 feet away, watched him do that live.
Oh, Mike, did you? I think you dropped something. That name.
Not at all. Because Kahai brought it up first. But one thing I will tell you, but one thing I'll tell you is that he never misses that 1.
No. Yeah.
He plays on 1, no matter how crazy his music is getting. And he's also known for like crazy fast slap bass. But if you listen to him do it, when the chord changes, he's right there. When that beat is supposed to hit, he is right there, and he's right on it. And that rhythm does not. The one thing that you notice about him, no matter how nuts he gets, his rhythm does not waver, though. That's a weakness of a lot of bass players who are trying to do that, though. They're trying to do the advanced stuff before they build it up from the simple stuff. So if you're gonna, again, I'm gonna always bring this back because that was the question, Aaron. If you're gonna play U-bass, remember that that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's your job.
Can you develop all that other really crazy stuff? Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the same thing it would be the same thing as me telling an ukulele player, oh yeah, you can watch Abe and Aldrine and Jake and all those guys, but what they're doing is simply more advanced versions of the basic stuff. If Aldrine couldn't strum a simple, solid rhythm, then all the other stuff wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine?
Aaron,
could you imagine that? Me not
being able to keep the rhythm.
Jeez, that would be a disaster, Aaron.
That would be like
somebody up all the time.
Yeah,
that would be like somebody who's playing Me and Shirley T, and on those breaks they just go.
It's like totally not on beat.
Yeah, I can't even picture it. Kai, do you have another question?
Oh no, we do have a couple more questions, but I was gonna add that we do get people who are like, why can't I just start learning to pick? I just want to start playing like Jake, or I just want to start playing like a soloist. And that's the thing that we kind of have to remind them is that all the people that you like look up to as a soloist, they all started playing by strumming too, and they're really good at strumming if you ask them.
Not me,
first.
Kahai.
Oh yeah.
Straight while my guitar gently weeps when I first started.
Yeah.
Fourth grade.
Yeah.
Fourth grade, before Gently Weeps came out.
All gently weeps. Ever since I first started, buddy.
I think. Can you put air quotations around that? Because for sure we're gonna get somebody
out of that conversation.
For sure somebody's gonna come back and Aldrine said he started with Gently Weeps. I don't understand. How come? Why do you have to guys?
He didn't start with Gently Weeps. That song wasn't out yet. He started with Toccata. Because that's all.
Yeah.
No, I started with Gently Weeps. I taught it to Jake, which then Jake made it popular. You know,
he made it popular.
I'm still waiting for my royalty checks, Jake.
and then you did Spain, right? And then you taught that to Chick Corea, then Jake saw Chick Corea do it, and then he did it, right? Yeah.
It didn't inspire Jake to do it. I mean, I'm just inspiring everyone.
Yeah.
Aldrine is the wellspring from which it all
100.
flows.
Yeah. I'm just so humble about it. That's why this is the first. I figured on episode 100 I could finally let out my secrets and
that's
just
why he's wearing the
be
Supreme
myself for once.
Episode 100 is the turning point, right? The heel turn. Yeah.
He's coming out.
All right, next question.
So Cam, back when we were talking about nails and stuff, Cam asked, "What about acrylic nails for flamenco playing?"
For flamenco playing, it's basically the same rules apply. You can use acrylic nails, and they work great, but you're still kind of dancing with fate, because if you're using it for too long, it can just kind of come off, and it has come off, whereas the gel is the safer choice because it just kind of coats around your the nail that you already have. So the acrylic nails goes on top. If that glue gives a little bit, and you pick one of the strings and stuff, because you're constantly striking it on your string, so that glue is constantly being tested. Okay, so there's going to be a time, and you don't want that time to be on stage, because I know that it'll just kind of fly off. So think of acrylic nails as kind of a very, very temporary fix, rather than if you use a gel, then it's kind of a longer term fix for what you want.
I think one thing about the acrylic nail, the fake nail, that whole question to ask yourself is, why are you having difficulty growing out your regular nails? Because I seem to recall, Guy said that the guy who asked this question in the first place was saying he's been unsuccessful with getting his nail. The question is why? Do you have a job where you can't grow your nails out? It's not, you have naturally weak nails. I think that also probably would help figure out a better solution.
Yeah.
What
would be the reason?
And I think Aldrine mentioned it too, that I think you might think that you need longer nails than you actually do. It doesn't need to be as long as you suspect. It doesn't need to grow out super long either.
Yeah. Well, the longer it is, the easier. I feel, but then the shorter it is, the better the sound. The shorter it is, the closer it is to your to your actual finger, the more density behind the attack on the string, therefore making it more sound better, makes it more of a rounder tone. If you can kind of if you can tame it, and it still needs taming. Just because you're getting more surface area or more density on behind that hit, if you can control that, it sounds better. And that's what I mean by that. The longer the nail is, because it's easier, because you have kind of a lot of room to kind of play around with. If you're going to be doing picking and stuff, the longer the nail, you don't have to kind of get close to it and get really accurate. You can kind of just fool around and you can hit those notes, and it's going to come out as easier. But because it has a lot more surface area on the nail itself, it can be a bit thin because you're not getting as much density from your finger itself.
That's why I bite my nails, because I want the densest sound
Oh,
possible.
there you go.
So that's why I have no nails, because I just want
Yeah.
super dense.
Tell them, Kai.
We have one more question from Cam,
Sure.
and then I think we can get to there's a student review that we had to. He asked, what do you think about Herco humidifiers? That's the kind I use, but I would like a second opinion on good humidifiers.
I haven't had too much. Which one is that? Which one's the Herco one?
It's like the one that's the one that you just put in your guitar in your case. It's just like a little.
Oh yeah, no, those are good.
The clay jar.
Yeah, those are good. Yeah. I like those. They work great as long as you put your ukulele in, like in the case, keep it in there. The humidity levels inside the case is what changes. Like, so if you use that, you still kind of want to use a hygrometer to check the humidity. But if you want to raise the humidity, you use that clay thing to raise the humidity. If the humidity is too much, then you might want to use silica gel to lower it down. So the Herco humidifier is just a way to raise the humidity. So if humidity is a problem, you have to first check if it's too low or too high. Then that's when it would be useful. So like a Herco humidifier wouldn't be useful in a place with too much humidity. So you know what I mean. You put that in there, then it's just gonna break your uke. If it's
like if you're here.
Yeah, if you're here,
we don't need it.
Exactly. Yeah. So in that sense, it does work. Like it works great. I used it when I went to Salt Lake City in Utah. It's like, it's pretty dry, and I had to kind of use that, and there are times where I needed to, I needed something, but I didn't have, like the Herco whatever humidifier, and I just kind of used an apple. Like I put an apple in a Ziploc bag and just like poked holes in it and just kept the apple inside my case, and that worked too. So it's kind of like the same thing. Just need you just need moisture like inside your case if it's too dry, and that's all it does is create moisture.
A similar trick we used to use with classical string players, orange peels.
Oh yeah, that's another one too. Yeah,
orange, citrus peels, anything like that. They're really good at holding on to moisture just enough to slowly, because you also don't want to like overload an instrument with moisture. I saw somebody was asking about acoustic guitar basses, and someone, I think I forget where I read this quite. It might have been on Talk Bass. Someone had said, "Hey, I think it might be too dry. Should I just put it in the bathroom and turn the shower on?" I was like,
that might work if it's super duper.
No, that's a terrible idea. Don't ever do that.
No, just put it in there for like 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like,
isn't it?
Oh no, that hot steam will.
It's the same treatment as when you have strep throat, right? You want that steam to clear you up. It clears up the instrument.
Kind of like putting essential oils, on the corner of your shower, and turning your shower on and letting that essential oil enter your temple, right?
It's like, oh no, my
allowing it to balance my chakras. Yes.
Yeah. There you go. You need that to open the ninth gate.
My instrument has some marks on it. I better put it in an oatmeal bath. I heard that gets rid of eczema.
But yeah, I mean,
people are just like dropping oils into their ukulele holes.
No, don't do that.
No.
So so basically that's what it is. Like that's what that Herco humidifier does. It just kind of raises the humidity levels inside. So your question of is it good or whatever? It definitely does what it's supposed to do. That's
any humidifier that's sold to be like an instrument humidifier is going to be totally fine. There's very little difference in
And if you if you don't want to get one of those, you can always build your own humidifier. Check out our was that Uke Minutes on how to create a humidifier out of the Pez dispenser.
Yeah. Jim asked, any ideas what percent humidity is too high or too low?
I mean, it's gonna be different. Like I've heard people say like 60% is like, is pretty much like that's like optimum. But what would you say, Mike, since you work in a music store, so you have a lot of instruments you got to keep at like the right humidity level?
In all the,
because I've heard 60.
My experience tells me that it's a range. It's not probably, I would say, anywhere between 40 and 60, and you're good. Okay. Now that being said, remember, every piece of wood is different.
It's true.
Wood is one of those things it's difficult to figure out sometimes, because it acts like it's alive even after it's dead. So you want to, because some pieces of wood are going to like a higher humidity. Some are actually going to like a lower level of humidity. So this is why what Aldrine advised, getting a hygrometer, is so important, because if you really want to know for sure, that's what you have to do. You need to be able to monitor that level. Now, you can either, hygrometers are easy to find. Ace Hardware, Home Depot, most of those have, because people are having to check on the humidity of their home or wood or something like that. You can do it there. You can get one there. Most
it's
music
cheap, right?
companies.
Are those expensive?
Hygrometers? Nah.
Like $10?
About $30-$40 for a decent one.
$30-$40? Oh, a decent one. Okay, I was like, what? I thought just,
maybe like 20 something for like a cheap digital one.
Mike, I'm only spending $5 on Pez to make a humidifier. How much money do you think I have?
The DIY hygrometer.
If you can figure out how to do that, that would be pretty incredible. But I'm talking about usually those digital versions. Also, keep in mind too, for those of you who are, if you're looking for, say, a new case, if you spend a little bit of money, you could probably on your next case, add a little bit extra. You could probably have one built in. Aldrine, you guys would probably know about this more than me, but again, coming from the classical string world, a lot of violin, viola, cello, and an upright bass, the actual hard cases, most of them have hygrometers built in.
Some of the higher end cases have them built in. I know Ameritage has them built in theirs. I remember Como was making those like fiberglass cases that has those inside. And there's some other cases that have them in, but it's definitely a premium, premium choice.
Yeah, and then the case kind of has to have like a seal on it, or else it's just measuring the outside humidity. Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's one of the hard things. If you have, your typical, HSS black compressed foam case, a hygrometer is going to have a harder time figuring that out, because it is so porous. Probably something you can do if you really want to test where humidity is, or if you want to try and adjust it, would be to do something like get like a garbage bag, put the hygrometer and the ukulele case in the bag, and then tie it up.
Yeah.
That it's not going to be perfect, but it will seal it up enough from outside humidity that it should get a pretty decent
reading.
A pretty decent reading. For those of you, by the way, who are also having humidity issues with your ukuleles, that's also something you can do. Right now, I got myself a GS Mini guitar a couple months ago that was a little over humidified, and so I actually have these really nice dehumidifier sets. That's like an activated charcoal in these nylon pouches. It is. It's actually pretty nice. It works real well. But the guitar was so over humidified. The way I'm accelerating that is, all the dehumidifiers are in the bag, zipped up the bag, put it in a big plastic bag, and I have it tied off right now. And that's going to really like lock that in, so it really can pull it out. If you have to adjust it, and that's really what you want to do, just test it out a little bit with your ukulele. And a couple tests I learned, well, the over humidification you'll know really easily. Once if you look at your ukulele and it starts to warp, you know, it's probably over humidified. Do something about that. A test you can easily do is take something flat and put it on the bottom part of your ukulele right behind the bridge. The two sides of whatever square thing you put should not come up. So if you see light underneath the two edges, that means that the middle is starting to puff up at the bridge, and you really want to bring that humidity down. The testing for too low humidity is a little bit harder, but the one that I learned was just take your finger and tap on the wood all around your ukulele. If a ukulele is drying out, that pitch is actually going to somewhat raise. Because as the water leaves the density of the wood is actually going down. So it's almost so the pitch is going to start going higher and higher and higher. Whereas if you have a well maintained ukulele, that pitch is going to be a little bit lower because of the water content in the wood. Now, I realize that test is also very conditional on how well you know that ukulele and how good your pitch recognition is, you know. But if Aldrine tapped on his ukulele right now, it would be a little bit of a lower pitch because his is really well maintained. And if we found one that was really,
let's say that.
That was a good joke, Mike.
That's a good joke. That's a good joke. All right, we're past 2. So say your last few things before we go. Because we had one more thing, but I think we got to cut it off already.
Okay.
Sorry to cut you off, Mike.
No. But I mean, that's really it. It's just maintain it, watch the humidity, and do a little experimenting with the hygrometer to find out where that sweet spot for your particular instrument is.
So before we go, I'll just do the student review real quick. So Glen brought us a couple songs. He sent some private videos over to us, but just just to kind of to touch up on what he did. He played Upiki Man, and he played Listen to the Rhythm of the Falling Rain. So with Upiki Man, I could use a little bit less of the of this movement with your wrists instead of doing like high. It's more like a high, like a Miss America high, with this twist of the wrist. Another thing is if you're doing the picking, if you're doing that, make sure to do it with several fingers so that it's a little bit more accurate. You were kind of doing. He was kind of doing that with with that picking. Make sure to take your time as well. And there were some timing issues, so make sure to kind of count. Like the 1, 2, 3, 4. If it goes to 5, then it's a little bit too much. You know what I mean? Especially with Rhythm of the Falling Rain, you would kind of do the listen to the rhythm of the falling rain. You would do that riff after 4. So make sure that you do that you do it before so that you can come in on 1, so it's not like finishing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then playing it and then going back, and that would be like the 5th beat. So make sure you're kind of consistent on that. Everything else, it looks pretty good, man. Keep up the good work. I mean, you look like you're having fun. I love the chicken. Love everything else that you did with that video. So good job with that. And that's really it, man. Keep it up, okay? Thanks, Glenn. All right, this is it, guys. This is episode 100. Mike, are you gonna join us again next week, or are you busy, man? If you
let me think. No.
You got stuff to do?
Yeah, I'll be here if you want me here.
We have the song challenge due next week, though. Yeah. So
we'll give you the guidelines, and maybe you can do a song for the song challenge, bud.
No pressure.
Just B flat.
Text me the thing.
Yeah, no pressure. If you write one, then you write one.
Yeah, I have nothing but time, so yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and send me the parameters we have, and then
we'll do.
I'll see if I can write something up. Also, since I'm coming back next week, since we've talked about it, if anybody does have any questions about bass playing, or
music theory,
or music theory, or what U-bass to buy, because there are a lot on the market nowadays. I mean, if you asked me this question 5 years ago, it would be a very simple question because there was only one small ukulele bass on the market. Now there's like, all these different companies making different strings. So, any questions? So throw them over.
Will do. All right, so we'll check back up with Magic Mike next week. Thank you guys so much for making Thursday a live lesson as fun and as just entertaining to do as it is. Whenever we come here every Thursday, bringing you guys some ukulele and not so ukulele content, but we've definitely enjoyed ourselves. Thank you so much for listening to us. Here's to 100 more, boys. It's 100 more.
Absolutely.
All right. See you guys next time. Stick around for one-on-one coaching. And tomorrow we'll have our Low Friday Live Jam. There's Aldrine from ukuleleunderground.com. If you want to learn how to play ukulele, check out ukuleleunderground.com and sign up for UU Plus to take your ukulele playing to the next level. Thank you so much for downloading the podcast. You can watch this. You can watch the video version of this over at ukuleleunderground.com, or does it come into their RSS feed as well? Do they have to go to the site?
Yeah.
Go to the site. Because the site's great. Okay. Sign up for the private lessons if you guys can. I know I know May has been put out there. There might be a few more spots left, but April is all blacked out. So sign up in May. But thank you guys so much. Aloha. Have a great one. Stay safe. Bye.